Hey guys, how's it going? This is Mike from M&R Automotive. Today we're installing two 30-inch light bars on a Nissan Titan. The first part of removing the grille from the Nissan Titan would be to undo these clips. These are Nissan fasteners. Put a screwdriver here and do a quarter turn, and then it pops off. Quarter turn, and it pops off. Quarter turn, quarter turn, quarter turn, and quarter turn. When you remove the top, there's two more fasteners that are on the side. You can pull it and they come out on their own. You can see them here, 1 and 2. If for some reason they're stuck, what you do is just pry it with a screwdriver and it'll come out. So on this version, they came out fairly easy. On some of the videos on YouTube, I did see that some people had to put a screwdriver in there to release it. Same thing on the passenger side, they easily came out, these two. So the only thing that's left is just to do all the ones on the bottom. If you look down on the top, you'll see there's a little tab with a lip. So if you look on the bottom, there's these tabs. The way it releases, if you go from underneath it and just push on it up, it'll release the tab and it'll come out. So you gotta do it all over the grill. Press up on it, and it's going to unclip. You're feeling these tabs, I'll show you afterwards. This one's unfastened. Let me get this one on here. And this one is unfastened too.
What is the blue tape for?
I'm gonna put this here so that way we don't scratch up any of the original bumper when we're moving it. Because when you are moving it, see, there's some play in the plastic, and I don't want it to scratch up the original paint. So if you zoom in here, this is a perfect example of the clip that I was talking about. See, with my finger underneath it, press up on it, and then it comes out of that slit. Same thing with this one, and then we can work our way towards the middle, unclipping all of them. So that's 1, 2, 3. 3 are done on this side. There's one right here. Last step after you unclip all the clips, then you just remove it. Now that we have the grill removed, we're going to install a 30-inch light bar on the top portion of the grill. Here are the mounting brackets that come from M&R. Notice that the orientation of the bracket, there is a little bit of elongated side. That one is facing up. So the mounting location that we're going to use would be the mounting, the push pin here. We're actually going to remove the push pin and replace it with stainless steel hardware. I'm gonna go ahead and pry out the factory push pin. It just comes out. And then what we're gonna do, we're gonna slide supplied hardware, which is a 1/4 inch bolt from the back side. And what you could do, if the louvers are in the way, you can actually move them up, close them. So that way you have more room to get your hand in here to install the bolt. So we're gonna go ahead and slide the M&R bracket. Don't worry about the rubber piece. The way we designed the bracket, all you have to do is just move this rubber trim piece in. If you prefer to cut it to create a slot for the bracket, you're more than welcome to do so, but it's not necessary. We can just move it in. In order to prevent any interference with the grill when you install it back on, what you want to do is push the bracket in and then tighten the hardware. I'm gonna go ahead and install the other side, put the light bar through before I do the final tie down here. So let's work on the other side. We're gonna go ahead and remove the top push pin, get your pry tool underneath it, and we're gonna do the same thing we did on the driver's side. We're gonna thread the bolt, install the M&R bracket, and tighten it. So now that we got this mounts installed, we're gonna go ahead and thread the light bar bolts into the light bars from the sides. And then what you want to do is align the light bar in a position so that way it clears the grill. So for this grill design that we have, the best position that we notice is going to be probably on the top. So we're going to go ahead and mount it like this, and then we'll still be able to make adjustments after we get it installed. Okay, so notice that it's still a little flimsy until you tighten the side bolts. So just like I mentioned before, when we tighten it, go ahead and push the bracket inward to bring the light bar as close to the back as possible. And we're gonna go ahead and tighten these bolts. There it goes. Notice how much sturdier it is now that the fact that all the bolts are tightened. and we can go ahead and test fit the grill to make sure that we got the proper leveling for the grill design. Yeah, before I route the wire, I'm going to go ahead and try to zip tie it to the bracket itself, so that way it doesn't interfere with the louvers when they're open and closed. Because what happens is if you leave slack and it interferes with these when they're open and closed, it might throw a check engine light. So you want to actually route it around the bracket and zip tie the wire to the bracket itself. So I'm going to pull in the wire and throw in a zip tie. Now the louvers can open and close, and you can just do it by hand. They can open and close without interfering with the wire, and it won't throw a check engine light. Let's go ahead and test fit the grill. I do like the positioning of the light bar on top of the Nissan logo, so we're going to go ahead and clip on the grill, and we're not going to do any further adjustments. If you do need to make adjustments, right now is the time. Just loosen the side bolts, maneuver the light bar up and down, and then tighten them back up. So if we're installing a lower light bar, we're going to actually use the same location, but the push pin that we're going to remove is the bottom one. Slide your prying tool underneath and wiggle it out. We're gonna replace that push pin with stainless steel hardware. I'm gonna feed the bolt through the opening. I'm gonna install the mount, and then I'm gonna go ahead and finger tighten the bolt. And we're gonna do the same thing on the passenger side. Now we're gonna go ahead and thread the side bolts on the mount to the light bar. When you're tightening, make sure that you're applying pressure on the bracket so that way it can be as close to the radiator as possible. Awesome, nice and sturdy. Let's go ahead and zip tie this wire just the way we did with the top light bar, so that way it doesn't interfere with the shutters. We're going to go ahead and feed the wire up. So the final test after you install it would be to actually test the shutter system. You can open them and close them with your hand. Make sure that the wire doesn't interfere with anything on the shutters themselves, or else it'll throw a check engine light. But here you can see they open and close without any issues. So we're gonna go ahead and put the grill back on. What we're gonna wanna see is just to make sure that it's aligned with the grill opening the way we want. If not, we can still adjust it based on the bolts here to either raise it or lower it. So now that we have this installed, let's kind of review it. So we have two 30-inch light bars installed. If you're ordering two 30-inch light bars, you're gonna have one sitting on top of the Nissan sign and one on the bottom of the Nissan sign in a slot. If you're only ordering one, you do have to specify which one you're ordering because the brackets are different. So upon your order, you have to choose above the Nissan sign or below, so that way we can give you the proper bracket. Let's go ahead and do the wiring. If you purchased a light bar that either has white or amber as the main function of the light, the wiring is going to come with two wires. One is the positive, which is the red wire, and the ground is the black. If you purchase a dual function light bar, meaning it has a main function light as well as the Amber DRL function, there's going to be an additional wire, which is blue, that's going to require power if you want the DRL function to operate. So you can provide power to your light bars with this wireless 8-gang switch power system. What it does, it allows you to control up to 8 accessories with a remote that goes inside the vehicle, and you don't have to run any wires through the firewall. So you can purchase this in our store, and it makes installation a lot easier. Inside you get the actual remote itself. You do get stickers for your buttons, and here's the actual power distribution box and the two main wires. Ground cable that goes directly to the battery, power cable that goes directly to the battery. I'm going to go ahead and remove these 4 Phillips screws, and I want to show you how the module looks inside. There's a terminal for the red wire, which is the positive. There's a terminal for the ground, and there's the 8 different circuits with different amp ratings with different fuses. Also notice that everything's siliconed, a very high quality product. We're going to go ahead and connect the positive and the ground to this module and connect it straight to the battery. So what we're going to do, we're going to take the ground wire, we're going to feed it through here. We're going to loosen this bolt, slide the ground wire in, and tighten it. We're going to feed this through the bottom, slide it underneath this terminal. Now we're ready to connect this to the battery. Okay, now let's go ahead and connect the module to the battery. So first thing I like to do, we're going to go ahead and remove the protective cover on the main fuse, and I want to show you guys. So notice that the actual lever of the fuse box is not in line with the button. That means there is no current flowing through the system. If it's actuated like this, if it's in line, that means there is current going through it. So whenever connecting this, I like to have the safety and press the reset button, so that way you break the circuit. Let's go ahead and get to the battery. This is the positive terminal. We're gonna go ahead and loosen it. So we're gonna go ahead and install the terminal and tighten it back up. So the positive is done. Let's do the same thing with the ground. We're gonna install our terminal and we're gonna tighten it back up. All right, so now that we have our positive and negative wire, let's go ahead and show you how to install the light bar. We've decided that we're gonna use a 10 amp fuse. So I will unscrew the terminal bolts for the positive and the ground. We're gonna feed our wires underneath it because there's going to be a cover here. The red is the positive, the black is the ground, is the negative. So we are going to install it in here. It makes it easier if you get a lot of the wire in, and then we'll tighten it up. So that's the ground, that's the positive, and we are going to tighten that terminal. Same thing with the negative, which is the ground. So now we're going to go ahead and install the second light bar into the control module. We're going to also use a 10 amp fuse. Red to the positive, black to the negative. And we're going to go ahead and turn the fuse back on to provide power for the distribution box. Let's go ahead and test it. And then let's take a look. So the first light bar we had was on this switch, and then the second light bar we have is on a different switch. So you're able to control two different light bars wirelessly without running it through the firewall. We're going to go ahead and secure all the wiring and use some zip ties and go for a ride. Thank you guys for watching, and I know you're going to love this product.